Welcome in. This is your Jock Market Power Hour for this week's Travelers Championship. I'm Rick Gaiman, that right there. Joe Idoni. Joe, hey, bud. Good to see you.
What up, dude? A traveling man here for the Travelers. I'm glad you made it back to the comforts of the home studio. We're happy to have you back, and I'm ready to roll for another Power Hour, buddy.
I love it. Yeah, U.S. Open last week was wild and crazy. A leaderboard that was star-studded throughout, Joe. That was really, so much we talked about the live, and the golf course was awesome, but it's not every day you get Matt Fitzpatrick, Scotty Scheffler, Will Zalatoris, Rory McIlroy, Hideki Matsuyama, Colin Morikawa, John Rahm until the end. Just everybody in the mix made it that much more fun.
100%. And we see that consistently at the U.S. Open. The beauty of it, like from a jock market perspective and having shares in some of those guys, was the fluctuation and the drastic movements that we typically don't get every week. Like I talked last week about how like my favorite guy that I had was Morikawa. I thought he was a ridiculous price. After Friday, I'm so pumped. He's leading the tournament. Then he's all the way down, and then he made a charge back up. And you could say that about virtually any of those guys at the top of the leaderboard. At some point, they double bogeyed and they fell back to 5th, 6th place, and then they made their charge back. It was all just about the end of 72 holes. Matt Fitzpatrick happened to be on the top.
Yeah, so here's the market from last weekend, the results. So there's that Colin Morikawa example. So he was $6.25 a share last Wednesday, finished T5, which is it was good for $14 a share in terms of payout, which is $7.75 in profit. Rory McIlroy went from 10.17 to 15. Zalatoris went from 7.75 to 18, and Matt Fitzpatrick went from 7.05 to $25, which is a really good example, Joe, of what we're doing here right now. It's stock market. It's the stock market, DFS, and it allows you to bid on shares of golfers. And that's what we're going to be doing for the next, 40 minutes or so. And then we get into the live trading portion of this, just a completely different format to kind of add to your weekly routine.
Yeah, super fun format. The promo code scrolling across the bottom. If you have not deposited yet, we'll get you $100 match. Totally different up until 9 p.m. Eastern. So like you mentioned, 40 minutes from now, it's an open IPO trading. As soon as that 9 p.m. marker hits, the market will close and you will be allocated those shares in which you still have a bid that meets the minimum criteria. So a very fun, a very different way to get your fantasy gig going.
Power is the code. The link is in the description. We are going until just before 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Joe, real quick, just before we dive into all of this, not that it matters as much in jock market, but Justin Thomas withdrew from this event earlier on Wednesday. Brooks Koepka, obviously, he's gone. That was announced, I believe, yesterday. And then just within the last hour or so, Sungjae Im has withdrawn. So we've kind of gotten a little bit of a Wednesday shakeup in terms of what this field is actually going to look like.
Speculation is rampant right now on golf Twitter. So it's different. It just changes things a bit in jock market. Like you mentioned, this isn't like other fantasy formats where their price is set in. So obviously the next guy just gets bumped up a little bit. You can make those adjustments at any time. If you happen to bid on a guy tonight who withdraws before the start tomorrow, by the way, you will get those shares back. But I think, Rick, it kind of speaks to, and I know there's a couple injuries in play here, but I have to wonder about a little bit of mental fatigue, not so much physical, but mental fatigue for some of these guys at the top, like Rory McIlroy. He rarely ever plays a month straight. The Memorial was an important tournament to so many guys every year. The Canadian Open had an enhanced and accelerated importance this year versus almost any other year. Then you go to a U.S. Open where you kind of get beat up by the country club a little bit. Many of them are back to the grindstone again this week. I wonder what you feel about that narrative of maybe a little bit of fatigue from the guys at the top, which could allow for some opportunities lower down the board.
Yeah, I think that it's fair, and we see this a lot after major championships. I also think that, if you go back, if you rewind 5 or 6 weeks, you and I sat here and we said, wow, look at this stretch of golf that we have coming up. and look at all of these big time events. And I'm sure the players did the same thing, Joe. And then they started playing all these events. And then they're like, holy crap, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, pretty difficult conditions, a lot on the line. Maybe I should take a week off, because before you know it, we're going to be at the Open Championship and we're going to be in the playoffs. And there's a lot more big golf to be played. So I don't blame, JT for wanting to make sure the back is right. And we don't have a reason for Sung Jae's WD as of right now. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some fatigue coming out of the gate for some of these guys.
Yeah, I think a couple of them, Rory included, were pretty vocal about not shying away from that they were a little worn out, not only dealing with playing the amount of golf that they've played, but having to just the mental side of it, having to answer all the questions, especially stuff that gets put on the shoulders of a guy like Rory McIlroy. I think can be a little bit tiresome and wearing on these players after 4 consecutive weeks.
All right, let's jump into a segment that we call Bullish or Bearish, and it allows us to chat more in depth about 4 different golfers and determine whether we are bullish or bearish. And when we wrap that up, we'll actually unveil the big board and go through even more of these golfers. But Joe, let's start with that guy that we were just referring to, Rory McIlroy. So for tonight, his fair value is $9.31 a share. That's essentially asking him to finish 13th or better. Are you bullish or bearish on Rory McIlroy?
I'm going to go bearish, mostly for the reasons that we just said. Look, there's no part of his game that I think isn't functioning at an extremely high level right now. I just feel like when you put a microphone in front of him, Rory McIlroy, and more so now than ever when we see these players in these press conferences, is the most honest player on tour. He's going to tell you exactly what's on his mind and exactly how he feels. And he told us that it's been wearing on him. Deuce in the chat says Rory's got to carry the tour on his back. Yeah, that's a heavy weight for someone to burden, particularly in these times when you haven't won a major in 8 years. You're coming in good form. You're trying to do that as well. You're trying to go back to Canada and repeat. You're trying to play Jack's tournament well. Now you got to come into this. I'm going to say bearish for a lot of those exterior reasons outside of the golf course that may be tough for him to the expectation in my mind from to finish 13th or better this week. Where do you sit?
This one's quite difficult for me. I will probably agree with you and take the bearish side. I wanted to go back and look at how often Rory McIlroy plays, a month straight, how often that actually happens. But what we saw a little bit at the country club, especially towards the end of the week, he started to get a little bit more loose with that driver. He had one of his best putting weeks ever. That is likely to regress if he doesn't continue to drive it well and he gets himself in a little bit of, troublesome spots off the tee, and you add in the fatigue and everything else that's going on. I could see Rory playing okay and finishing T18, something like that. And that's just not, it's not good enough, right? You're asking him to finish inside the top 13 at this price, and I think it's a fairly sizable ask.
Yeah, I think someone did have the thing that this is only the second time in his entire career it's been 4 consecutive events as well. So, yeah, I agree with every sentiment you said there.
Yeah, someone like Rory McIlroy, who has the pleasure of picking his schedule, does not generally put himself in a situation like this. But here we go. Next up here, Davis Riley. Certainly the flavor of the week, and for good reason. Joe, $6.60 is his fair value tonight. That's asking him to finish about 24th or better. Are you a bull or bear on Davis Riley?
I'm a bull. Look, not only the flavor of the week, should have been the flavor of the last 10 events, judging by this graph you've got in front of my eyes right here that shows you 103% ROI, which is outrageous. Now, you see there the average IPO price of $4.50. He 100% has built up enough steam and goodwill that price is going to be much higher tonight. That said, I'm not really worried about fatigue as much with guys like Davis Riley. These are guys who are young players that are used to playing every week, that are eager to capitalize on a current run of form that is the best they've ever had in their career and potentially get himself a victory that solidifies his PGA Tour card, which is as important as ever right now. So I like him this week. He's playing well enough. The numbers don't lie that you just put in front of my face. I'm going to go bullish.
Yeah, I'd be 0% surprised if Davis Riley won this golf tournament. He's just kind of trending in that direction. What I love about not only the results, not only the returns on your investment, but I love the way he's doing it. Joe, he gained more strokes on approach last week than Justin Thomas. I mean, he's just very dialed in the ball striking categories. And when you look at him, you talk to him, you listen to him, it's just like, I'm out here playing golf and I'm just going to continue to rock and roll. And like, I don't know, he's almost too cool of a customer for someone who's as young as he is. So I'm with you here, bullish on Mr. Davis Riley, which moves us to another young gun here. And this is one you wanted to make sure that we included here, Joe. It's Mito Pereira. I've got him for a fair value of $6.20 tonight, 26th or better for Mito. What side would you like here?
There's a reason I said it, and it's because I'm bullish. Look, missed the cut, I believe, on the number last week. The U.S. Open has a funny way of doing that to a lot of good players. But if you sort of zoom in to his last 8 markets, which I did over there on RickRunGood.com, 7 out of his last 8, he's been profitable for you. So with the exception of the U.S. Open, which I mentioned has some weird tendencies to it for all players year after year, he's been a steady gainer. He's on a fantastic run right now. And I'm just going to, like, we've seen a thing at the Travelers, Rick, where you kind of should just play the guys who are coming in really hot. We've seen it with Harris English last year. We've seen it with Ches Reavie. If a guy is striking the ball really well, they seem to line up. All different types of players. If they're in good form, they seem to play well at the Travelers. I'm going to have another bullish on the side of Mito this week.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, right? I mean, this is such a really, like, this 7 out of 8 is such a really good snapshot. And it's not like it's 8 straight weeks. He had a couple of weeks off there, so he shouldn't be too tired, right? Like he took the week off in between the US Open, or before the US Open. And I'm pretty sure, I was going to go back and look at this, but I'm pretty sure he gained strokes on the field. One of them at the country club, but missed the cut on the number with the way that the cut rules are set up for the US Open. So it's not even like he played all that poorly, which I think is kind of important to look at. And, you could argue the same thing or the opposite side of those other guys. He didn't play the grueling weekend at the country club. It was cold. It was chilly out there. Let me tell you, like, it wasn't fun watching them play golf on Saturday and Sunday. I can't imagine they were too super stoked about it. But yeah, I will also take the bullish side on Mito, and I think he's going to be like the cheaper version of Davis Riley tonight.
Yeah, I would agree there.
You know what I mean? Like two similar up-and-coming stars.
Both
a lot
playing well.
Good ball strikers, both playing well, but I think most people will gravitate more towards Davis Riley. Yes,
I would agree. That miscut seems to sting a lot of people and linger throughout the next week. And like you mentioned, it was on the number. It's at the everyone had a bad hole. Everyone had a hiccup. His just happened to come in those first 2 days when a lot of other guys saved it for Saturday or Sunday. So missing the cut by 1, I'm not going to penalize him for too much if you can get a little discount.
Last one here, our defending champion, Harris English, $5.39 a share, 31st or better. In theory, Joe, that's not asking much for our defending champ.
Yeah, but it's asking a lot for Harris English these days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 straight starts on the PGA Tour where he's lost you money. I don't see it turning around. He dealt with what I believe was hip surgery. Correct me if I'm wrong, but came back at the Memorial, missed the cut there. Actually made the cut at the U.S. Open and then finished 17 over par. So pretty, like, just it's all red right now. Now, is there a point in Jock Market that we always talk about where you buy low and you see an opportunity on a defending champion? I'm going to go bearish, but do you think I don't think he's going to go, Rick, for the price point that he's listed tonight at $5.39. I think you could get him like sub $4, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to see and that's what I love about this on a Wednesday night is we really see the sentiment of the market. So the fair value, $5.39, but look at his recent IPOs, 289, obviously a much deeper field at the US Open, 388, much deeper field at the Memorial, 283. I mean, he has not sniffed $5 since he had this great finish at the WGC, and then he played the Northern Trust. So I agree with you. Nowhere he comes nowhere close to 539 tonight, unless his family members are here in the IPO. So what would it take? What's a reasonable number or a reasonable fair value position for Harris English?
Oh man, I don't know. See, that I'm usually willing to roll the dice on some of these buy low spots, but it's been so ugly and the injury looming. There probably is not a price over $2 that I'd be willing to put my money on.
Not even $2 is, let's see, $2 is basically, well, okay, that's not that much. That's not that far off from what
I kind of think he's going to miss the cut. I think it's likely he misses the cut the way he's playing.
$2 would be like 46th or better. I was going to go like 40th or better, which would be like $3.10. So we were not that far off. The other thing is we're getting IPO shorting very soon, which this would be like, wouldn't you just love to IPO short some of these guys?
I would love that. So wait, you saw the Jock Market guys last week, right? They were there?
I did. We met up at the country club. They are, as we know, we talk with those guys. They're great guys, but to actually be able to chat with them in person and watch some golf and talk about all the fun stuff that they've been up to. It's very exciting. There's definitely awesome stuff to come.
Very cool. They have built an awesome app that we all love, that has 100% proven the concept on it. We keep coming back every week, and the growth sort of speaks for itself. So excited for them and looking forward to IPO shorting, hopefully coming soon. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully coming soon. Okay, well, that'll conclude our bullish or bearish segment. So we're playing stock market DFS. We're in the Jock market. The IPO phase where you can bid on shares of golfers is open right now. If you're the high bidder when this thing ends just before 9:00 p.m. Eastern time, those shares are allocated to you. They go into your portfolio, and then there are guaranteed payouts along the way, depending on each golfer finishing position. The big board is starting to shape up, and action is coming in. So we can tap in to the live board here, Joe, and find Rory McIlroy has already surpassed his fair value for tonight. He is currently $10.06 per share. So let's just say public sentiment does not necessarily think that fatigue is in order.
Yeah, and look, I think it's fair. It's hard anytime you're trying to play psychologist with these guys, and they can tell us one thing and do another. And the form obviously would indicate that he's on one of those Rory runs that we see once every 12 to 15 months right now, and you should keep playing him. But yeah, that's a steep price that I'm probably not going to get there at now that he's cleared $10.
I'm looking at some of his results here. So he was $10.17 at the U.S. Open, turned your profit. $11.25 at the RBC Canadian, turned your profit there. So Rory is absolutely headed towards another big IPO tonight. Worth noting, he is the second pre-ranked golfer, which is important here in golf, especially because that's how we break ties in the Jock market. The number one golfer and the guy who breaks all ties, he gets the full share price in all tie situations. Scotty Scheffler, Joe, 976 at it again. Another runner-up finish. He has now made more money in a single PGA Tour season than anyone ever. And we still have a major championship and the playoffs to go.
This is one of the best seasons I've ever really seen when I've been super into golf. So I got into it a little bit later, I guess, in life, but like past Tiger prime years. He's unbelievable right now, and he continues to be on this hot run. I thought he was going to win at a number of points last week. He played the hardest holes, like 1 through 4, unbelievably. Like nobody was making pars there, and he would go 2-3 under. And there was something about the start of that back nine that just crept in on him. But he was very close once again. He was a shot or a putt dropping away from being in a playoff and potentially winning his second major championship and 5th tournament of the year. He's so good. He deserves to be number one. We'll see where the price point gets, but what can you not say about Scotty Scheffler at this point?
Yeah, here's his last 15 markets. This goes back to Houston. 63% ROI. And this does not even include his match play win because that was not a Jock market eligible contest. So it's just been absolutely bonkers for Scotty. No surprise to see him again near the top. Now we start to get into some different names. How about Patrick Cantlay? An enigma. I don't know what to do with Cantlay. I'm not sure the markets know what to do with him. I will say he's turned your profit in 2 straight, including last week's U.S. Open, 3 out of 4, and he's had a lot of good success at the Travelers. Are you favoriting Patrick Cantlay? Are you keeping an eye on him for tonight?
Keeping an eye on him. Yeah. You're right. An enigma was a great word for him. It's hard for me to really get him right. He was on that incredible run to end last season where he was going for $10 plus and he was still turning you money in the Jock market almost every week. That's kind of cooled a little bit. You mentioned, though, coming back to the Travelers, where not only has he had some success, I believe he got his PGA Tour start here. So good vibes for Patrick Cantlay. Made a nice little week, had a nice little weekend at the U.S. Open, T3 at the Memorial, where he's played well before. So he's shown the ability to go back to places that he has a comfort zone and play really well. I'm kind of with you in that I just can't figure this guy out.
Yeah, drove it well at the U.S. Open, putted well at the U.S. Open, seems to be trending. I feel like you're either always a buyer of Patrick Cantlay or you're just never involved.
Yep, it's hard to dip in and out. I agree.
It's hard to time him. The next handful of guys, this is where I think a lot of these markets are going to be. One, a lot of these portfolios are going to be, decided with Sam Burns, Jordan Spieth, Xander Schauffele, Keegan Bradley, Davis Riley. Those are the 5 golfers currently going for $7 a share or so, in that $7 range. I could see guys winning here. I could see guys that are traps here. It's kind of a really fun little section of the board.
Yeah, it definitely is. I got to update my pricing here, but of those 5, I do think that Sam Burns is right now the best player. He had a bad Sunday at the U.S. Open, but heading into that, like, he was live. And he was live to do what Sam Burns does, and that's have a really good Sunday and post a number and wait for the final groups to come in and maybe win the thing, maybe get himself into a playoff. It didn't work out in his favor. He hasn't played the majors all that well, but the other tournaments outside of that, he's been awesome. The approach numbers are through the roof. We know he's a good putter. We know he can score. I feel like this should be a really good course for him, although not a ton of history here to back that up. I think he's the best player in this bunch right now. What do you think? I think you're muted, buddy.
What a rookie move that was. Yes.
There he is.
I'm pretty sure, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, that his last 2 majors were actually his 2 best major finishes, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, I think so.
Moving forward, T20, T27. But you're right. He's just been he's just stone cold. And I love the way he sets up for so many different courses. The other one here that has my full attention is Jordan Spieth, who, dude was legit sick on Thursday and Friday.
Was he?
Like, legit sick. And a lot of those guys were kind of dealing with the similar stomach bug or food poisoning or whatever it was. They were not feeling good. And I'm just hoping there's an opportunity to buy low. He's already over his fair value, but I don't think he's going to creep up into the, 3rd or 4th most expensive golfer. He might be the 5th or 6th most expensive golfer.
Yeah, he's in the midst of one of his best runs, like tee to green, in a very long time. So, good finishes. Obviously has the win here. I don't know, what is that, going back 4 or 5 years now, but has a win here at this course before. Like we mentioned earlier, like, people have done this, like, won here in so many different ways. It's hard to say that this course favors bombers or around the green or approach guys. It's just whoever is really playing well at that particular time. Spieth had his week, and he's playing well coming into this week.
Okay, let's see if we can continue down the board here, find a little bit of value. If you haven't signed up yet, the code you're looking for is POWER. We're currently in the IPO phase. It's going to close right before 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight, Joe. But let's just scroll here. The 6s start with Joaquin Niemann. They go down to Brendan Todd. anything of note in this range, a notable golfer or two in one form or another?
Yeah, how about Aaron Wise? Kid's playing really well. Was super impressive at the Memorial. I was actually very impressed with him at the U.S. Open as well. I know he was another guy, a la Burns, that I thought was kind of in it and had a bad Sunday, but has returned a positive ROI in 5 of his last 6 starts. So he's within a good little run here. The putter is not good, but it's not as bad as it was when it was at his worst. And he's really striking the ball well right now. So US Open, PGA Championship, the Memorial, those are big time tournaments. It was 27th to 23rd in a second. So he's playing really well.
Yeah, he is. And I thought he was another, like there was a couple of guys on like Friday afternoon or Saturday morning that like touched the lead. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like it's Adam Hadwin, it's Bo Hostler, it's Aaron Wise. Like, these are the guys. One of them's finally going to break through. Hard to do at a major championship, but nonetheless, still played very, very well. Let's go down to the 5s here, and I'll refresh this board in a second. But we start with Brendan Steele. We have HV3 here. We go down to Siwoo Kim. A couple of savvy vets in the middle. Webb Simpson, Keith Mitchell, Jason Day. Anything you like here, or are we moving on?
I don't know. We talked about Jason Day a little bit like a month ago. I felt like he was on a decent little run, 31st at the Memorial. I think Keith Mitchell's been awesome and very underrated this year. Now, he did not get into the U.S. Open, so we didn't see him last week. But before that, in terms of total driving, he's off the tee as good as just about anybody right now. It's 7th at the Canadian Open, 18th at the Memorial. He's been playing really well. Harold Varner is like the perfect candidate for like really good in the jock market, I would assume, of like guys that aren't winning and maybe are burning a lot of people's betting tickets that end up in the trash. But, you know, if he finishes 7th or he finishes 10th, he's still making you a solid profit. So there's some interesting names absolutely in this range that we typically see get a big boost if they play really well.
If you like small sample sizes, and you like it to be 3 starts, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 golfers who have returned you a profit in each of their last 3 starts. Only 6 in this field. I thought it'd be more than that. Keith Mitchell.
In 3 starts?
Yeah, 3 starts. That's it. Aaron Wise, Adam Svensson, Denny McCarthy, Hank Lee Biota, Mackenzie Hughes, Keith Mitchell. That's the list. That's it.
Denny's
my
boy.
Denny's in the next tier, 473. Denny was another one of those guys that was like, oh my God, is Denny McCarthy going to win the US Open? Like that was the rumblings around the media center when some of these guys were touching the lead were quite fun to listen to. Denny McCarthy
like
as much love in the mainstream media as he does in the DFS media. Let me tell you that.
Guaranteed. Yeah, we love Teddy, but dude, he's awesome. And there, it felt like, yeah, like could he get to -4 and then maybe pray that like we start to get 30-mile-an-hour gusts and something crazy happens? Who knows? He was out there early enough, but he barely scratched through the cut and like just kept climbing. And he's been doing that for a long time now. He's made 18 of his last 19 cuts. So if you're worried about your guy going to $1, he's maybe one of the safer guys in the field. He's in his last 20 starts, he's made over 90% of the cuts. That's pretty darn good. I think he may go for what's his high in terms of an IPO price? Because my guess would be based on sentiment this week, he may set a new record.
All right, so he's currently at $4.73. The most expensive he's ever been. Let me just confirm this. Yeah, okay. So it was $6.26 at Bermuda.
I was going to say it had to be Bermuda Corrals.
Yeah, Bermuda this year, it looks like.
So this is a little bit different field. He was probably like 25-1 in that event because the field was so weak. But yeah, I do think he could get to the $6 mark. And I think he's going to like scraped into the PGA Championship, was the last guy in the field after a late withdrawal. Did okay, made the cut, did good at the Memorial, like did good at the Country Club. These aren't courses that I think you would have a year ago pinpointed as spots for Denny McCarthy to pop, which I think showcases that he's more right now. He's more than just a great putter. He's super accurate off the tee and he's hitting his irons really, really well.
Let's keep diving. The $3 range. I like Nick Hardy on this run that he's been on. Yes. So a couple of good finishes, both on the Korn Ferry and the PGA. Tour. Let's see what Bo Hostler's my guy. He's $3.17 right now. He started as fourth alternate. He got into this field. He's got 2 top 10s here in the last couple of years. Some of these just more accurate guys, right, Joe? The Ches Reeves, the John Huzz, the Mark Hubbards, those guys seem to be pretty live here.
Yeah, Kisner super accurate, but on a bad run, so to speak. But yeah, I definitely think that you look at a $6,800 golf course, and I think it brings just about anybody into play, especially guys that have a weakness off the tee and aren't going to really you expect to compete at 7,400 plus yards. So yeah, there's a fair share in this range. Tom Hoagie's another one who's a pretty good wedge player in decent form. It looks like he's just sort of cracked that $4 range, but yeah, Matt Neesmith is another guy who's on a decent little run. There's definitely some names here that you can see posting a top 10 this week.
Smotherman feels like, and let me see here, he lives in this like 25 to 45th place range. And yeah, okay. Sometimes I was thinking he was going to be a bigger winner than he was, not particularly. I'm just kind of scrolling down. We're kind of in the deep depths of it here. Let me continue to roll. Oh, Patrick Flavin got in this field Monday.
Yes, he did. Another one.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
$1.70. Cole Hammer making his pro debut, 133, which, as you always like to point out, Joe, like there's like so little risk to a guy at $1.33.
There's almost none. Yeah, you might as well bet him and you lose 33 cents. But if he finishes 45th, like last week, I forget what the final price I got him at, but I had Brandon Matthews at like $1.40 and he finished like 56th and made me money. Like if they make the cut, you're going to make money on them. There's almost no risk. Like Matthew Wolf sub $2 feels kind of weird. Is he one of those guys you just have to cross off like at this point until you see some life? He was so good in the fall. Like that wasn't that long ago, was it? Yeah, it was.
It's getting longer ago. Man, I tried, right? I was like, okay, let's go to Wolf, and this is a course where he can club down. Let's go check his stats on shorter courses. Wasn't any good. All of his stuff now is just like horrendous. His best attributes historically are now his worst parts of it. It's just like if I could make a profile for a guy I'd be very concerned about, it would be his profile.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I had something better to say.
This kid, Michael Thorne Bjornsson, I think was in the field last week. Wasn't he kind of from this area as well? He's $1.12 right now.
Ooh,
I'm just looking at guys that are bottom feeding.
By my clock right now, it's 8:49 p.m. Eastern time. So what's going to happen here is we've got, 10 minutes, maybe less of IPO time left. When we get to 8:57, that's kind of when we enter that 90-second window where things can kind of close at any moment. So you've got about a solid 7-8 minutes and then a lot of sprinting towards the finish line. Here's the big board from pre-rank positions. So Scotty Scheffler, number 1, he's $10 a share. Rory McIlroy, number 2, $10.06. Don't bid on Justin Thomas. You'll just get your money back. He's withdrawn. Same thing for Sung Jae Im. So the least expensive top 10 golfer you can get right now is Tony Finau at $635. I think a lot of people, Joe, were very excited about Tony Finau at the U.S. Open. Misses the cut, and now I don't get that same sentiment.
Yeah, but he was really good in the events leading into that, including everyone was really high on him at the RBC Canadian Open, and he finished second there. So he was on a great run, 4th at the Charles Schwab, had a good finish in Mexico that was a little bit before that. You're seeing signs, right? And like I mentioned with Mito earlier, like I'm not going to crush a guy for missing the cut at the U.S. Open by a couple of strokes. It could have been one bad shot over the course of 36 holes. That was the reasoning for that. I'm more inclined to look at maybe his last 6 starts, and you see some solid bumps there, 16, 20, 20. Those are the type of finishes that 22nd, of course, that we expect out of Tony Finau, right?
Yeah, no, it's I think I've probably warmed on Finau more than most other guys this week, just because it's very raw right after a big time missed cut. And then you're like, well, you look back at the rest of his results and he's been so good. And you're right. Am I going to burn him for a missed cut at the US Open? The place was devastating. It was devastating. I wouldn't have cracked 160 out there. Like, it was devastatingly difficult. I don't know, man. Like, I think this is probably a buy spot.
Yeah, I do too. Some of that rough was just like, it was hit or miss. Like, you could kind of be fine and you can be absolutely screwed. And it was sort of a little bit of the luck of the draw. So not surprised that something like that would end up happening to Finau, and I'm not going to hold it against him too much.
The other guy that I think is kind of carrying a lot of oxygen is Keegan here. So the very public, like, oh, he's from New England, makes a deep run at the US Open. He's the guy that I think feels a little trappy, already over his fair value, but I could be wrong. I'm not a very good prognosticator on Keegan, but I tend to lean towards trap side of this. What do you think?
Same. I lead toward trappy. An emotional week for him. I don't think I've ever seen him like that. Like, the authority that he was like fist pumping Friday afternoon birdies and like hat tipping the crowd and like so excited on Friday or like early Saturday morning was pretty wild. So I think an emotional week for him, family, friends. I'm sure people that he grew up with were probably there in attendance. I'm sure he had a good bit of fun after. So yeah, I naturally kind of expect there could be a little bit of a letdown spot the following week after a big game.
Real quick before I let you go here, I was on the media shuttle after Sunday night, so like going back after it was over, or maybe it was Saturday night actually, and the legacy media, like the old people, they were convinced that the greatest storyline would have been if Keegan won, and I was like, okay. I was like, that'd be cool and all, but for like 3 minutes, I'm like, if Rory winning, Rory, or Scotty, or Zalator, or like
even Fitzpatrick was a better story.
Yeah, or Rahm, or Fitzpatrick. I was like, Keegan's like the 9th story, and it would last like 3 seconds and only matter here. Like, how could you argue? I couldn't believe what I was hearing on that thing.
Totally, it would have lasted 3 seconds, exactly like you said. Yeah, it's interesting the difference between old media and guys like us who just put up a podcast cam, right?
I just can't believe it. Yeah. All right. So here's where we're at. 8:53 p.m. Eastern time. So, Joe, why don't you go do your thing? So Joe is going to go build his portfolio. He's going to make his bids, and we'll rendezvous with him in a couple of minutes. Joe, good luck.
Thanks, dude.
And I'll take you the rest of the way. So here we go. We are about 3 minutes or so away from entering that random window, 90-second window in which the IPO can close at any moment, so that we don't, have somebody in there timing everything. So the random aspect of it works really, really well. So lots of bids are going to be coming in right now. If you have your notifications on, which you should be getting lots of notifications. You should have the golfers that you're interested in favorited so that you can access them quickly and easily, because you are likely to be outbid in the next minute or two. Okay. Let me refresh this big board, and we'll give you an update on the state of the market. And okay, wow, pretty good. We got 2 golfers over 10,000. No, not over 10,000. Over $10 per share. 10.06 Rory McIlroy. $10 Scotty Scheffler. That is essentially asking them to finish 12th or better, something like that. Is that no? Wait, hold on. Did I do that math right?
Once they pass 1050, I know you've got a top 10 at that point.
That's 11th. Yes, no, I had that right. Yeah, so 10th, 12th is $10 a share or better than that. Patrick Cantlay, look at this little run from Cantlay up to 905. He is currently the 3rd most expensive golfer on the slate, with Sam Burns and Jordan Spieth checking in at $8.25 each. Xander Schauffele is $8.15. He's the last golfer over $8 a share. That is already more expensive than Xander was at the U.S. Open, already more expensive than he was at the Memorial, already the most expensive he's been since the Valspar Championship. The last time we saw a price this high on Xander Schauffele, so sentiment very, very strong. Davis Riley, no surprise here. Very popular option, and he should be. Starting at the Zurich Classic, he's been awesome. I guess starting at the Valspar where he finished runner-up to Sam Burns, but he has just been a money-making machine here in the jock market with no signs of slowing down. The aforementioned Keegan Bradley has surpassed Joaquin Neiman. As much as I like Keegan, great guy, probably shouldn't be more expensive than Joaquin Neiman this week. That feels a bit hairy to me. Neiman coming off a 47th place finish at the U.S. Open, a T3 at the Memorial, a T23 at the PGA. He's just been pretty darn good since he won at Riviera earlier this year. Mito Pereira, $6.75. Seamus Power, $6.50. Seamus Power, $6.50. That might be, that's the most expensive he's been since Pebble. Oh, my God. He was $8 at Pebble. He had a 5-shot lead on Saturday, and he coughed it up. That's not good for those investors, but everybody was pretty sharp on Seamus Power. 8:56 p.m. Eastern time. Let's call it 8:57. The clock just turned. 8:57 p.m. Eastern time. And here we go. A battle at the top. Scotty Scheffler has just become the most expensive golfer in this jock market. $10.33 a share. Rory McIlroy, $10.15. They are the only two above $10. In fact, they're the only two above Patrick Cantlay at $9.05. Sam Burns has extended a nickel over Jordan Spieth. A little bit of a run on Brendan Todd. He's now up to $6.15. That's the same price as Harold Varner III. We've got a couple of decently pre-ranked golfers. Mark Leishman is the 11th pre-ranked golfer. He's $5.77. He is cheaper than Aaron Wise, whose pre-rank is 37. Brendan Todd, who's 20. Seamus Power is 35. So on and so on. Matt McNeely flying up the leaderboard, $5.47 as of right now, with Cam Davis, who I like quite a bit, at $4.76. Let's find some value here. Bo Hostler, $3.88, and Nick Hardy, $3.83. Yeah, I'll buy both of those guys. Honor Bond Lahiri continues to ball strike it very well, $3.77 a share at the moment. And if you like accurate golfers who aren't very long, Mark Hubbard, $3.36. Ches Reavie, $3.25. Let's go deeper. What do we have further down the board? Kramer Hickok finished runner-up here in that 8-hole playoff to Harris English last year, $3.04. What do we have on like Cole Hammer making his pro debut? Patrick Flavin up to 177. Cole Hammer, 152. So not much risk on those guys. Let me try to get one more refresh in here because we are definitely in that window. This IPO is going to close at any moment. We can't stop it. It's coming. It's going to close when it does. We'll see how soon that is. Here's a refresh. Yeah, Scotty. Scotty continues to reign supreme. 1060. Most expensive golfer on the slate. Rory McIlroy, 1033. Spieth and Burns still hanging tight, 855 and 850. They haven't really moved. Danny McCarthy, I think, got a little bit of a bump there up to 612, but we have generally stabilized here in this market. 8:59 p.m. I'm going to try a refresh and see if we get any last-second bids. But that
still live.
Still good?
Yep.
All right, we're still open. Not much. Okay, here we go. Scotty, a little bit more expensive. Now 1069. Rory, 1036. Xander got to 840, so he's opening up that gap between himself and Davis Riley. Brian Harman up to 6.25. Mark Leishman making a little bit of a run. 622. He got above Brendan Todd. Got above some of those other guys I mentioned earlier. So we got a little bit of a run on Mark Leishman there. Tom Hoagie looks like he jumped up a bit as well. He's now $4.58 a share. Nick Hardy, $3.83. That's right where he was. Bo Hostler, $3.89. Let me try to refresh it.
IPO has closed.
All right. We were pretty still there for the most part. Pretty mature market by the time we got to the end, Joe.
Yeah, it felt like those guys to the top really didn't move a whole lot. There was a good bit of activity sort of in that mid-range. I'll give it a few seconds here for my guys to pop over into the portfolio and see who I was able to end up with.
Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. I'm waiting for my big board to refresh, so we'll get those final IPO prices. Let us know who you got in the chat. Let us know who's in your portfolio. Those shares are being allocated over to you. We'll get Joe's portfolio. If you haven't deposited yet, the code you're looking for is POWER, up to $100 deposit bonus. Link is in the description. And Joe, do you know who you have?
I absolutely do. Mito Pereira, the guy who we talked about. I got some shares of Mito. I got some shares the exact same price at $6.88 for Seamus Power, who's been on an underrated run. Seamus Power this year. He's been playing really well. Aaron Wise, who we gave a little bit of oxygen to, at $6.25. Christian Bezadenhout at $5.12. and then sort of moving down in the sub 420 range. Luke List, Nick Hardy, Bo Hostler. I think you mentioned both those guys late. I was hoping they didn't get snagged from me. And then sort of my penny stocks for the week are Ryan Armour, who just got into the field on a Sung Jae Im withdrawal, and our boy Pat Flavin, 177. I'm going to roll the dice on him.
Right back at it again. Mito, Seamus, Aaron Wise, Bezadenhout, Luke List, Nick Hardy, Bo Hostler, Ryan Armour, Patrick Flavin rounds out Joe's portfolio. Let's see. Jeffrey Smith got 50 shares of Grillo, 50 shares of Mito, 40 shares of Spieth. Interesting. JG Funk went Mito, Seawood, Neesmith, Cam Davis, David Lipsky, Cam Champ, Anirban Lahiri. I like that.
Yeah.
You're in 5th place right off the bat.
Yeah, I don't know. That's going to bounce around quite a bit over the next couple of minutes, so we'll see.
No, you're in 5th place right now.
Let's cash him out. Cash him out, baby.
Shut it down. We're done here. All right. Here's the big board. So here is the final pricing. And Scotty Scheffler reigns supreme. $10.69 per share. Rory McIlroy, $10.36. No surprises there. I believe Cantlay was 3rd. He was the only golfer in the $9 tier. That is a little bit surprising to me. Joe, I think I'm generally more bullish on Patrick Cantlay than most. And I am, like I said earlier, you're either always in on Cantlay or you're never in on Cantlay. And I'm always in on him, but I never feel like that's the public sentiment. So I'm a little bit surprised to see he's the 3rd most expensive golfer.
Me too. 100% agree there. It feels like he's not the most popular player out there, but yeah, the only guy in the $9 range. So was more popular than Xander this week, who I know a lot of people seem to like. Sam Burns, Jordan Spieth. Like, these are some big names that he was priced 50, 60 cents higher than.
Yeah, significantly ahead of Burns, Spieth, Xander, Riley, Neiman, Fina. I mean,
Riley got a big bump this week, huh? $755. Wow.
Gotta be the most expensive he's ever been by far. It is. His next most expensive was $605 at the Charles Schwab. So we are in full-on bubble territory with Davis Riley. I'm a little bit worried, but I'm very excited. He's so good. I just hope he comes through this week, because when it gets the bubble bursting spot, I always get a little bit worried.
Yeah, there's always that worry there. So you never want to buy at their highest point typically, but playing well. We'll see if he can keep the run rolling.
Keegan Bradley, this is likely an all-time high. It is 710. So again, we're kind of in that situation. Mito Pereira at 688. That feels pretty darn good. I
got those 3 right in a row there. Power, Pereira, Wise, all in that $6 range.
Let's see what else we got here. Jason Day, who we kind of spent a moment on, $5.23. Neesmith went for $4.39. Did you get Neesmith?
I did not get Neesmith, no.
Okay, I know you like him, so let's see. Oh, you got Luke List here, $4.22.
Yep.
Ricky Fowler's legit in this field?
Yeah. Where did he finish?
360.
Yeah.
The other thing is, like, I don't know if it was for Netflix or whatever, but he was the first alternate on the range, and he had 9 cameras on him at all times. Never got into the field.
Can Netflix just drop like the first 4 parts of this thing? Like, I need this now. If they drop this thing at 8 a.m. tomorrow, I'm not going to work until I watch it. I need this content more than anything right now inside the locker room and in these players' houses to see what's going on. They're if they wait too long, they're missing a huge opportunity. It's like when they decided to like bump up The Last Dance when like COVID hit and everything got locked down. They're like, we're gonna put this out now. Everyone's gonna love it.
And still had to finish like the last 2 episodes, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we need it now, Netflix. Like, capitalize.
Yeah, give us a teaser or something. Drop the trailer. Yeah. All right, under $3. Austin Smotherman, which that might be a good price on him. That's the cheapest he's been since Valspar. So if you've been riding this Smotherman train, it's been generally effective, but now you're kind of in a buy low spot. Not much has changed, right? He's just living in that 25th. Like, nothing's changed. There's nothing different that Smotherman should be good or bad at this week, but that's a interesting little buy low.
Okay, Hardy last week hanging in there strong to T14, and the other one was right there. Where did I just see him? Was where did Hayden Buckley
Right,
finish?
right here, 287.
Yeah, he finished 14th last week. Like those two kids, when you thought that they all was going to go wrong, I think they like opened up like bogey in the rough bogey. Like they stuck around with like the big names in a US Open. So walked away from that very impressed with both of them.
Yeah, love that. Okay, well, here's where we're at. If you haven't deposited yet, you're absolutely crazy, but you can use the code POWER. The link is in the description. It'll get you up to a $100 deposit bonus. Joe, you and I will be back again to do it all next week for the
John Deere, is it?
John Deere. Oh, yes. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Deere. Flavin's in that one too already.
Yep.
Sponsors invite.
Isn't it usually the week before the Open? Did they switch that up?
Yeah, because I think now the Scottish is an official event.
Got it. Oh, it's an official PGA Tour event?
Co-sanctioned event. Yeah, so they'll get FedEx points for that. It'll be the Genesis Scottish Open.
Cool.
So
and what's this thing? What is this thing that Tiger's playing in?
that is the JP McManus Pro-Am, which is going to have like one of the strongest fields around.
It's like the live guys are in it. The PGA
Rory's
Tiger's in it.
Rahm has played it in the past. I think it's just like a way to holler at your business connects, get to play like 18 holes and get ready for the Open Champion. Like get over there early, get acclimated. It might be 2 rounds. I can't.
Yeah, I think it's 2 days. I don't know if it's 18 holes, but I saw the field for that and I'm like, geez, how did they get this?
Always stacked. It's always stacked for sure. All right. So next week, same time, same place for the John Deere Classic, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time, Rick Run Good YouTube channel. Joe is available on Twitter at TorPix. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been your Jock Market Power Hour. Good luck.